Wow.
Hey.
You guys can't hear my air conditioner, right? It's really loud for me. Okay.
You're good.
I think it's better to take a little bit more time and get some.
Well,
Rather have it already in place when I got.
I think we're just going to wait another minute. Oh, I see people coming in.
Oh, sorry.
So that's right.
I didn't know you were doing that.
all right. I think that might be it, Azure. Small group today, intimate.
People are doing work today.
We'll take it as a good sign that people are going to work.
Nice. Cool. All right. Well, I'll kick things off. I'm Azure Collier. I'm the Content Marketing Director at Triple C, and welcome to, I believe this is our 10th social hour. I can't believe we've been doing this for 10 weeks. It's pretty awesome. So if you're new to social hour, we've been having these weekly chats, virtual roundtables, so that our customers, people at restaurants, venues, hotels can check in with each other and find out how people are reopening and what they're doing to adjust, and also ask their questions if they need some help on reopening themselves. So thanks everybody for joining us. And we're just gonna have the Triple Seat people say hello to you. Actually, we might go around the room. I mean, there's not a lot of us. Won't take that long to introduce ourselves. But if you do, if you want to introduce yourself, go for it. If you have a question that you want to ask, audibly, just go for it. If you'd rather type that into the chat box, and a little camera shy, I get it. My hair is a disaster. My roots, I really desperately need to get them done. So I totally understand why people might not want to be on camera. So I think that's it. We'll kick it off. Say hello, Triple Seat people.
Yeah, I can go first. So I'm Rachel. I'm the event manager at Triple Seat.
I'll go next. Hi, I'm Leta. I'm the VP of Marketing. And I just want to say thank you guys for coming back week after week. And we really do want to continue these during and post COVID. And I think there's a lot of valuable conversations we can be having with event managers across the country, getting to know one another. So sorry, just my PSA as well, but we don't want this to stop.
I just want to piggyback off that, Leta. I can't wait to meet you guys in person at event camp and party people events once we start getting together again. It's been really cool to get to know some of our customers virtually.
I'm Rachel. I'm the marketing coordinator at Triple C.
I'm Nicole. I do marketing for Event Up and Venues by Triple C.
I think that's it.
All right. So Rachel, do we want to kick it off with our first poll?
Yeah, our favorite poll. We just want to see, I think, because most of you have been on these calls before, I think most of you are open. And I know all 50 states are open in some capacity. So it's just like cool to see this week on week, like how many people are opening up again.
We're the ones lagging. I'm in Brooklyn, and still pick up and delivery here, but hoping, we've got some light opening this week of the construction and retail and stuff like that. So opening soon.
Okay, so it looks like half of us have reopened, but there's still some of us who are waiting to reopen and sometime in July. And some people don't know still. Oh. So I think we wanted to start it off with, like, if anybody wants to share how the reopening's going, or if you're not reopening, like what you're looking forward to when you do reopen, or if you have any concerns.
And Holly, I know she's talking to someone. Oh, okay.
Holly's like actually at work.
Yeah. she's been witnessing some interesting things in Tennessee as they're reopening. It's been cool to hear from her. How about anybody in Vegas? I know just reopened there. Oh, Holly's on.
Hi, hon. Sorry, guys.
That's
I'm working. I heard you out of the side of my ear. I had both on. So, yes, I'm in Tennessee. I'm in Nashville, but we have restaurants throughout Tennessee. So, for those of you that don't know, Tennessee opened kind of odd. We have a state health department, and then we have county health department. So we opened by health department. The state is in phase 3, and Davidson County, which where Nashville is in phase 2. Last week, we were hoping this week would start phase 3 in Davidson County. And last Thursday, our mayor said, no, we were staying in phase 2 because of where our numbers were at. This morning, I was hoping he would say it again. And this morning he said temporarily, we are staying in phase 2. So that means we are at least 3 weeks in phase 2. Which means we can have 50% capacity in our restaurants, socially distanced, no more than 6 per table. We can have entertainment as long as it's 2 performers and they are 6 feet from each other. So that's a plus. We're going to bring back music in our restaurants in Nashville next weekend. Broadway is doing it right now. Broadway is very interesting because bars aren't supposed to be open unless they serve food. And so Kid Rock, for instance, his bar is charging everyone 5 cents and putting a basket of French fries on their table. And that's how they are getting away with serving food.
Whoa.
Holly, are there any people on Broadway? Since there's no, I remember you saying before, like downtown Nashville with no tourists is like, is there?
It's not busy, but it's there. Memorial Day weekend, there was way more people than I expected. And I was talking to a friend of mine that works downtown, and they were talking to people, and it's people from Alabama and Kentucky and Georgia that were driving in for the weekend.
Oh, nice.
So, positive there. As far as restaurants, we're still, lagging, of course, with where we were. So they're here and there, they're out there. I got it.
Oh, I was gonna say, I sent my parents a Puckett's gift card. They're in Murfreesboro. They used it. They sent me a picture of the food. They were so excited.
Oh, I love you.
They want to go back. But my dad is making my mom be very careful. He wouldn't let her look around in Target the other day. So,
that's just trying not to spend money. I see what your dad's doing.
Yeah, I think it was an ulterior motive. But yeah, just side note, they are enjoying the gift card. So.
Well, my side note is I got my party pooper onesie for Jameson, and I'm so excited. So there will be pictures when he comes here in September.
Nice.
But yeah, so as the state goes, the state is at 100% capacity for restaurants, just socially distanced. So all of our other restaurants can seat accordingly. And I actually just was meeting with somebody that said the state is now allowing full bands to play, as long as, again, they're socially distanced on the stage. So our other restaurants are going to be starting with entertainment as well, I think this week instead of next week. And one of our stores, actually our Murfreesboro store, is going to start trivia back up starting this month. So yeah, I think we're starting with Mean Girls trivia, which yeah. I was like,
you're doing it virtually too?
Yeah, we should. But yeah, so that part's happening too. So it's kind of slow and steady. We're seeing it, come back to life. But as far as, groups, we're getting a lot of leads for social, but barely anything for corporate. I just had a client that I spoke with this morning that had canceled during COVID, and they were going to reschedule, and they were told today that they can't have any events for the rest of the year. So we're going to give them a gift card, and they'll use it sometime in 2021. So, yeah.
So Vegas reopened last weekend, and I'm Nicole at Tao Group in Las Vegas, by the way. Beauty and Essex was our only property that was able to open, and we were sold out for Friday and Saturday, which was great. 50% capacity, but still I think we did around 320 covers for each day around that, which is like I mean, I could not believe it. I really couldn't. And we're looking really good for this week. So we're only open 4 days a week, about 4 hours a day. And then we still don't know, you know, when our other properties can open. So we have Marquee, Tao, and Lavo. But we did get our first booking for June 15th. We're closed on that day for now. So it's a 30-person buyout.
Nice.
Yeah, we're really excited. It was the first one. But I have noticed, like, as far as leads go, as well, kind of what Holly was saying, social inquiries, but because of the restrictions we're in, people don't want to sign a contract. They don't want to have to pay the high per person rate because they can't even be next to their group. So they're like, well, we'll just split up anyways and go a la carte. So we're kind of running into that problem because it's a maximum of 10 people per table, which I totally get that. And we've had tons more conventions cancel. We're pretty much almost canceled through the end of the year now, which is pretty disappointing. But you know, 2021 is going to be great. I actually had a group, they were 2,500 people and they'd been waiting to sign their contract, obviously. Their company banned corporate travel for the rest of the year and 2021. So they're not even going to pick back up until 2022, which was the first time I've heard that, but it's a massive company that we do so much business with every single year. So that was like pretty devastating for sure. But the opening went really well. The hotels are packed. They are so packed. And, you know, honestly, there's no social distancing going on, like at all. It is completely packed. My son had a baseball tournament, and we went to Laughlin, Nevada. It's about an hour away from me this past weekend, and we thought, you know, okay, great. The governor said 50% capacity. We felt comfortable, you know, booking a room at a casino. And we got there, and it was so bad. It was so bad. There was probably like 300-400 people on the casino floor. The lines were back to back. People were like I could reach back and touch them, and I was like, can you back up 6 feet, you know? And then there's just lines for everything, lines to get in the elevators, and there's no like X marks the spot. I mean, and I've noticed that I've seen a lot of pictures, a lot of videos, a lot of complaints on social media saying like, hey, at Caesars, you know, this is what's going on. At Cosmo, this is what's going on. I'm not comfortable. So that's pretty disappointing, you know, because it's just going to take more people being on social media, and I think people will be more scared to come out. But also, how do you manage, you know, the GA walking in, kind of hanging around, also your people who are there? I mean, it's impossible, you know.
Nicole, did you see like the casinos, the machines, did they block it out so that they, you know,
Yeah.
there's one in between people?
They did. Yeah, so they have like reserved signs in between, so every other one, which was good. I don't know if you guys have seen the video. It was like viral on social media, but this guy was wearing a mask, like smoking a cigarette out of the corner of his mask. That's 100% how it is. Like, people are crazy. And another thing I've noticed too was like a lot of the employees, like hotel staff, they're all wearing masks, but they'll pull them down to talk to people. And I see them like touching their face, and you know, they'll get on the phone if like somebody's calling the front desk and maybe they can't hear them very well, or they think they can't understand them, so they pull their mask down, which I think is going to be another big issue because people are going to see that, and you know, it's kind of disappointing. But then again, it was only the first weekend, so you know, learning curve, but hopefully it's better this weekend.
Right.
I was gonna just follow up, just, you know, Nicole, like Holly, so I'm guessing a lot of tourists, people like really needing to get out of their house, they're all flocking to Vegas to have a staycation or.
Yeah, I was actually really shocked. Like, I truly thought more people would be just like more hesitant, I guess, or, you know, still like a little worried or bothered. I don't know. But you would not even know. Like, we actually had some staff that was saying like, oh yeah, COVID's gone. There's no issue here. Because it's just packed. I mean, it looks like a normal weekend in June, you know, there's COVID what? It's kind of scary though. Honestly, it's kind of scary.
So what's being done for like the employees that have to get into the restaurant but go through the hotel? Like, how do they feel about that? Have they like spoken up about it at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's really limited staff, like for every restaurant. Most of the restaurants are utilizing managers or like salary people for right now because they aren't sure if the demand is going to keep being as high every week. But they have really strict policies in place. So basically, when you get to the hotel, there's an employee entrance, which some people use it, some people don't. But you have to wait in line, and there's, you know, X marks the spot everywhere to make sure you're being distant. And then they take your temperature, they give you a mask, and then you have to take the back out or back hallways all the way up to your venue, which normally you can just go right on the casino floor from there. But they're doing like block scheduling. I've noticed a lot of venues have gone on board with that, which I think is great to limit the spread. In case one person happens to get it, you're not losing your entire staff. So I've noticed like they are doing a ton to try and keep, you know, the staff safe for sure. And all the staff has to wear masks as well. So, but our office still isn't open just yet. We're still waiting for that part. We're still working from home.
That's nice. So I know you said like you were sold out your first 2 days. Did you do anything, or do you think it was just people were anxious to get out of the house? Like, did you run any specials or do any like social media posts for it?
Yeah, they did a ton of social media posts. So they're like the marketing for beauty was like, you can sit with us, kind of like the Mean Girls, like you can sit with us, you know, it was really cute. And then they're utilizing the hosts, the VIP hosts, to reach out to all their networks. So they're pushing it like, if you want to come to Beauty in Essex, contact me, and then they're booking it through them basically. And I mean, they were like the demand within like, I think we had just a few days notice when we were like, okay, we're officially opening. And so like it was about a week, I would say. And so then they just started pushing it out, and within a few days we were almost sold out for the Friday. So it was great. But I honestly, you know, not like it was just our social media, but just because there were so many people coming to town, the room rates were really good. Super, super cheap and affordable considering, you know, for the summer. And then we're also doing a 15% discount on Sundays for locals too. So just trying to fill up that Sunday date, because that Sundays are typically the slowest for us anyhow. And that helps get Sunday a little bit busier too.
Nice. Lots of Mean Girls going on in the restaurant.
Everybody's been watching it on Netflix probably through the quarantine. We also, you know, in addition to just reopening, we know that you all picked marketing as a topic from last week when we asked around. So, you know, we just wanted to check in and do a quick poll for marketing just to see what you guys were interested in talking about, if we could offer tips or somebody else could offer tips from what they're experiencing.
Let's see. And I've seen people, what you were saying, Nicole, like trying to like pull down their masks and stuff. Like when I've been out, like I went to a restaurant over the weekend, and I just feel like sometimes it's just like a nice sense of normalcy. So you just kind of forget what has been going on for like the past 3 months. So it's hard.
I was actually out last week with a friend, and our server went to wink at us, and he like pulled his mask down as he winked, and we were like, what was the point of that? He's like, I don't know. It was instinct. We just laughed at him. We're like, okay.
I'm worried about getting mask sunburn. I take walks in my neighborhood park every day, and we're kind of on a hill, so we're blasted with the sun, and I keep forgetting to put it down for a few minutes so I don't get burnt.
Okay, so our poll, what marketing tools help you the most? Instagram was the big one there. And then I think pretty evenly website, email, and Facebook. And then what goals do you wish to accomplish with your marketing strategy? Generate more leads, which is a pretty obvious good one. Yeah.
We're going to be writing some posts for the Triple Seat blog coming up too about some tips on, getting those calendars filled before the end of the year. I kind of think there's some good, timing going on here where people are going to still want to have events, and you only have so many weekends left in the year to do things. You have so many weekends for the holiday season. So you might see yourselves in a really good prime position where, people, they're going to have to get a venue right away before everything's booked up. So you could take advantage of that for sure in your marketing. But does anybody have anything that's worked for them? I know that the Mean Girls did really well for you guys, but any, certain messages that have gone out that people are responding to, or on the other hand, are there things that you've found out people want to know about before they come back? So social media or your website or your email might be good for getting that information out and getting them back in the door.
Yeah, so we came up with, I think I might have said this last week, but just in case, I'm going to say it again. Our company came up with like a reopening plan, and it kind of highlighted everything from what they're doing back of house to front of house, and in a lot of detail. It was a very, very, thought out document. And so they shared it with us, and we kind of, tailored it a little bit so that we could send it out to clients. So we, obviously we're convention driven out here. We don't get a whole bunch of like holidays, stuff like that. It's really just based on whatever conventions are in town. So we kind of sent that out to all of the meeting planners that we know within Vegas, and then all of the big ones that we work with. Some of them we've worked with for 15 years at Tao Group. We've been sending it out like basically what we're doing to keep you safe, keep your guests safe. And obviously it's an ever-changing document, so there's constantly new updates, but it was great. Like the feedback was really good. People were like, great, I'm sending this to all my big clients. Corporate travel is banned for 2020, but they're coming back in 2021. So I definitely think that helps, and that like they're going to remember us and be like, okay, well, Tao sent all this out. Maybe they're not coming until October, November. Who knows? We might be at that top of the list just because they already know what we're doing, rather than having to go and investigate and find the information. It's just right there. So I would definitely recommend something like that, just to send out to, your big meeting planners, DMCs, things like that.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, because I've been looking at a lot of like restaurants' websites and things like that just to find out if they're open. And I can't even tell you how many it's like I'm still unclear, and then I have to go to their like social media and it's still a little unclear. I like the people who just like very clearly, they're open, like they have posts, and they like put it in every post too. So it's not just like the first like we're open post, it's like we're open, come in for dine in, and like every single post since they've opened, which I think is super helpful too, just the repetition of it.
I've been looking at our customers' pages too to find out, if we're tweeting about them or, we mention them in a blog post to see if they're open. And there's sometimes where I just go straight to Instagram, and it makes sense with you guys answering the poll that like everybody's just been updating through Instagram. So that's become the most current place for information for me.
Same. And I think too, like, can you have groups? So I always get like a little confused too on these calls. I think sometimes we talk about it where like some people can have groups back, but it's unclear what the group size look like, or like their state. It's hard to like navigate those state regulations or what you're supposed to be doing. So
that's Tennessee, because they say like no, like for the state, it's no social groups over 50. For the county, it's no social groups over 25. But people are like, well, what's a social group versus a private wedding reception? So there really isn't anything saying a private group of 30 can't get together in Davidson County right now. And there was a lot of talk, I'm not turning it political, but if 10,000 people can go protest and that's okay, why can't we have a party of 200 in a private dining if we could keep them socially distanced and staff masks and all that kind of thing? So there's definitely like no real clear direction on private groups.
Yeah, it's confusing. We're in the same boat, so we're 50 or less for groups. And that was another reason why the group of 2000 had canceled, because they were like, how are we going to find enough venues to do like 50 or less between our 2,500 people, whatever it was. It's frustrating though, because if, like I said, if you go into the casinos and it is completely packed, like seriously, it is crazy. And that's okay, but we can't have a private group, you know, within a company where they all know each other. So it's definitely been challenging. And for us, I mean, not thank God, but thank God everything has canceled or moved. So we don't have to worry about reaching out to anyone for a while. Hopefully by September it will be gone. But, you know, if not, then the groups that we have on the books, like I have groups of 500 and up, then we have to then, you know, move them somewhere or give them their money back because they're larger than the restriction. I heard it's going to be 250, but we're still waiting on that.
Are people, when they're calling about booking and they realize it's a smaller size right now, or are they saying, well, I'll just call you back when I'm allowed to have more people? Like, you know, the date doesn't matter to them. They just want to have all those people there.
Yeah, so a lot of people have just been asking for, they don't even want proposals right now. They don't want to know exact pricing. They kind of just want to know like, hey, are you guys planning to be open on this date? If so, what are you doing? What are your restrictions? You know, and so we kind of just let them know this is what's going on right now. Here's some photos, 360 tour. You have my contact information. You know, if we want to schedule a call to kind of talk about your event, you know, let me know. And it kind of ends there. And I'm assuming it's because they probably don't want to waste their time as well. I have noticed that people are very like, they're definitely not eager to know what we can offer. They just want to know, are you open? Can you have events? Okay, cool. I'm staying at the hotel. You're an option. And I'll call you later, basically.
Yeah, I've been dealing with a lot of people where I'll say, this is the phase we're currently at. This is what we're offering right now. If we should go into another phase by the time of your event, you know, the regulations will change. Or, you know, for our case, we can also offer offsite catering. So we've kind of said like, here's a plan A, here's a plan B, you know, to kind of give them an idea of what it will look like. We don't have a lot of people really reaching. A lot of the people that are reaching out now, I think, are similar to Nicole, where they just want to get the information, but they're not moving forward with anything. Anybody I've talked to that like actually wants a contract is more September through December. And even those still are a little shaky right now.
Are people starting to book holiday parties, or are they just waiting for that?
I'm getting leads for them, but I'm not getting anybody to commit.
So since we mentioned Instagram, I just wanted to find out, those of you out there, do you have anything that people have really responded to lately when you posted on Instagram, or does anybody need any advice on what to do to bring people in and how to use Instagram to do it?
I'd be happy to speak up on this. Howie, I'm the operations manager and food and beverage manager for the Mountain Inn and the Killington Distillery here. And I have 10 years of social media experience, including professional. And what I've really learned is views are the most important thing versus engagement. Because I once did a thing where I was checked out the Cheesecake Factory in Albany, New York, and I counted because people were like, everyone's checking in on Facebook. This was years ago. And I was like, well, Cheesecake Factory has 2,000 check-ins, but they're probably doing like 800 covers a day, every single day. And in the course of 3 years, you have 2,000 check-ins. The engagement was kind of overrated. So everything I do is to get as much views as possible. So you do want to get likes on your Facebook posts and Instagram. It makes it better positioned in people's feeds. But getting your message out there, because you can show it to one person and they're going to maybe come in. But if I can get it out to like 600, so we haven't opened yet. We're going to start paying to like reach, gain followers and stuff on the different accounts. And then it becomes a matter of like, I've had it where I've had 3,000 followers on Facebook and I'll reach like 20,000 a week just posting once a week with the reach. So that's kind of my advice, is try to do everything you can, do sponsored posts. Reach is going to make it for you more than likes or comments or anything else. So just my opinion, but.
Just to back up on that, or piggyback on that, we've also found that people are more likely to click on things on Instagram than you might think.
Way more.
So I'm just sharing this free tool in the chat. It's called Smart Bio. So it's by a company called Tailwind, and we use their software to schedule our Pinterest and Instagram posts and pull stats. But this is a free tool they offer, and it can handle that link in bio for you. So if you want to, and I'll show you the one that we built for Triple C so you can see how it works. But you create a account with them, and then you can create different links. You put one link in your bio, and it goes to a web page where all your links are. So you can create like text buttons. I did not get the Triple C one in there. You could create text buttons or use posts that you have already created as like an image, and they click on the image. So it's a cool way to get out information, drive people to different pages that you want to drive them to. If you could do posts on events and having a button on there to go to your lead form. Let me see. There we go. So if you click on that one, that's our Triple Seat one. So we put that Smart Bio link in our bio, and then we have something we want to promote. We add a text link or use one of our images as a clickable image, and it goes directly to the web page where you want people to go. And the last couple of months, we've been doing a lot more posting where we're asking people to click links, and they will do it if they're if they're interested in what you're putting out there. So I definitely recommend trying more links in the bio, not in the captions. They won't let you do that unless you pay for an ad.
I was just curious, just because I've been hearing states like Florida and Georgia, and I forget the third state, where there have been spikes in COVID cases, like kind of on the heels of reopening. So I was just wondering if there was anyone there that is dealing with that or what they're doing and that, any information.
Yeah, I've been hearing about spikes in states that have reopened too, but I don't know if there is anybody on the call from those states or if they've heard in their open state that have had spikes.
I don't know if I've heard anything about the phases for that too, if they've changed anything after those spikes.
Maybe not.
Melissa, what state are you in?
Sorry, I'm also a Tau group. I'm in New York.
Oh, okay.
Melissa, have you heard anything about reopening for New York? How's that going?
Yeah, so we have a plan in place to start slowly opening by the end of June, but it's really all contingent on hitting the phase 2 opening date for the city. So, I mean, it's a plan, and the way things have been looking, we've had minimal cases. Well, not minimal, but cases have gone down significantly. We had, I think, a couple of days with 0 deaths. So it seems like we're pacing in that direction. And I mean, I personally am just looking forward to like being able to work again. I know that some people, I don't do sales specifically, so I'm not really in touch with clients as much, but I know that from my other coworkers, their clients have been a little bit more active in having conversations, but we haven't, and anything that we've had booked, I think we've maybe had 2 or 3 events booked since we've been shut down, and they've all been for 2021. So I'm ready to start like ripping and rolling. Like I'm ready to go.
I'm with you, Melissa. I'm in Brooklyn, and I can't wait to go and sit in a restaurant again or sit at a bar or somewhere besides my apartment.
Yeah, it was actually kind of, so in February, my boyfriend and I just moved out of the city, and we're in Jersey City. So New Jersey itself is actually ahead of New York. And it was kind of refreshing because my mom and I were walking down the street a couple of days ago, and there was like a couple sitting outside of a restaurant, just like eating and having coffee, and like no one was inside except the people that were working, and they were the only two people that were eating outside. But it was like, oh wow, this like feels somewhat normal-ish. It was nice. It was refreshing for sure.
Has anyone on the call, have you gone out yourselves? Like, what have you noticed as a customer?
I've actually gone out a bunch, because of our phases. And at first I was really only comfortable going to our own restaurants because I knew what we were doing for protocols. I think I mentioned it a couple weeks ago that I went to, oh crap, what the hell is the name of the restaurant? It's a chain, they do fresh food. I can't remember now, but they
Food Kitchen, right?
Yes, that was it, True Food. And I wanted to sit on the patio because I felt like that was safer, and they were all full, but they sat us in like our own section in the restaurant, and they were really taking sanitation to the next level. And since then I've gone to a couple places. Actually, had my parents here last week visiting me from Florida, and my dad has diabetes and he's in his 70s, so he's not really comfortable going out unless he could sit outside somewhere. Where my mom is kind of like, she's being safe around my dad. When he's not around, she's like, let's go in a restaurant. So we, kind of had two different spectrums while they were here. And one of my favorite restaurants we went to, it's a local place here, local Mexican. There, everybody was wearing their mask, but they were wearing it like this. And so and it took me everything for me not to like look at them and tell them like, pull it up like I do to my staff in the kitchen. And so for the most part, I felt pretty good. The funny thing is the places I felt the most uncomfortable are like Home Depot and Lowe's, like in retail stores where they're just not even the staff. Like we went to Home Depot while my parents were here to get paint, and the guy working at the paint department didn't even have a mask on.
Oh God.
So, yeah. I was like, I don't want your paint. But yeah, so I've been out a couple times to very different places.
That's interesting to me though, where I feel like it's a little bit more controllable, they wouldn't have like a stronger stance on it, I guess. I mean, maybe because it varies from state to state. Like the most ridiculous thing that I saw was walking into a Rite Aid, and the guy who's supposed to be monitoring the door told the guy he couldn't come in because he wasn't wearing a mask and didn't have a face covering, but then like his mask was below his face. So that was interesting, but for me at least the experiences have been like everyone is wearing a mask. It's just like, yeah, not necessarily over their nose, which is also,
defeats the purpose.
Don't they sell masks at Home Depot?
Do. Yeah.
You can walk a couple aisles from the paint area.
Yeah, I wanted to take mine off and hand it to him. I was like, really, man? But yeah, it's so weird because like Target is like the complete opposite. Target was because when everything first happened, my boyfriend was like, you are not going to any stores for the next till I tell you. So I didn't go grocery shopping. I didn't go to retail stores or anything. And like Target was one of the first ones I went to. And he allowed it because his sister works at a Target and he knew what they were doing for sanitation. And so it's so like night and day to see like Target's like crazy about it, sanitizing, all the carts as you walk in, they're wiping down the machines after they're being used. And then you go to Home Depot and there's a guy not wearing a mask making my paint. And so it was like so night and day.
Yeah, I wonder if Target just has a better training system than like what goes on there. But
they're afraid of social media shaming.
Yeah.
Right. But Holly, what you were saying about your dad only feeling comfortable going out to like restaurants that have like or outdoor stuff. I mean, I was reading something for event planners that was basically like, if you want to make your attendees feel more comfortable, like try to find venues that like you could incorporate like fresh air, like that you can open windows or like have sunlight, and it just makes it feel like bigger and airy so that people might feel like a little more comfortable going to those places or hosting their groups in there, just because it makes it feel like a little bigger and spread out. Or even just doing like your private events. I don't know if anybody has like outdoor options for it, but, and if you do, you should really be promoting that, like, especially with the summer months coming up and like the nice weather. That would be a good selling point.
That's also something that I forgot to add. I think the plan for New York too is like, we're only really going to be opening our biggest restaurants, at least in the beginning, at 50% capacity. And then a lot of our restaurants, well, not a lot, but everything else really that we're trying to open are those open air spaces. So like Dream Beach at Dream Downtown, or like the rooftops and things like that, like Cathedral at East Village. Like they're really only going to be seating, I forget the email, but a lot of their dining is going to be focusing on like the patio and then keeping the rest of the restaurant at 50%. So they're definitely pushing the open air.
For sure. Who doesn't love a what's it called, rooftop bar in New York?
Oh
and
my God.
It's be packed for sure.
Melissa, your locations, are you in any areas where they're going to expand the outdoor dining? I know that there's been some talk in New York about closing down some streets and like going past the sidewalks to make sure restaurants have more tables and more open space.
I'm not really privy to that. I know that at one point it was a discussion for one of our restaurants to maybe take over one side of one of our restaurants so that we could open, still kind of have that nightclub feel while also still generating revenue for the restaurant. But in terms of outdoor seating, I'm not sure. That hasn't been communicated to me or to us as of yet.
I'm looking forward to that. Fewer cars, more outdoor seating.
That'll be nice.
Very excited.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Our meetings have been so far and few between because there's been like little activity in terms of the event side of things. And then I know that even with like the list that Nicole got before reopening, we haven't really gotten that detailed list yet. And I think it's because we're that much further away in terms of phases. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, as things start to really ramp up, we'll learn more about that.
For sure. This is a question that's like a little off topic, but I'm just curious, just as like an event planner, are you guys, I know you guys aren't getting like some leads, but are planners reaching out like asking for like virtual tours or like more virtual, I guess, things of the spaces, or how do you handle that?
Yeah.
Like site visits like that?
Yeah, so I have noticed a lot of people, even for like 2021 and 2022, surprisingly enough, people are asking for contracts for 2022, which is like pretty crazy for me.
Wow.
But I'm booking it. So, and obviously they're like, well, we're not planning on coming out for site visits like anytime soon. I even have a potential party in December, and they're in Arizona, and they were like, my number one thing is I need to have tons of communication with you because I'm not going to come and see the venue. So we have really good 360 tours, and I pretty much send those out. Like I send them out all the time. And then we're going to try and do some kind of like a Zoom meeting where I can virtually like walk them through it. And then we've also been talking about, once like the venues are reopened, our offices are reopened, having our marketing team like kind of like record our site visit, just so that way we can, you know, do like the different setups, the different rooms, and we can just send that out to people so they can, you know, like show their CEOs and have meetings about it and pause it and take their own time, versus, you know, having a meeting with me where they might not remember everything like from Zoom and they might need it later. So that's something we're looking into. We tried to get pricing for all seated. They have an amazing product, they really do, but it is so expensive. It is ungodly expensive, especially for right now when we're losing money. So we're just trying to be kind of creative and try and do something like the all seated, but with like a regular camera. If you guys haven't looked into it, you should, because it was very impressive.
Cool. Yeah. I think that'll be super helpful too. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times like I go to see a space and I take photos and then I go back and look at the photos and I'm like, why did I take this photo? What is that?
Yeah.
What angle did I think this was for something?
Yeah. So we're working on that. You know, we have no idea like when we're actually going to go back to the office. So we're just trying to come up with like creative ways to, you know, make sure that our clients have what they need. Because right now, you know, we are very limited. And obviously we weren't prepared to go from like in person to virtual, like the way that people are demanding right now, at least. So that's another learning curve, but our marketing team is like working super hard, and hopefully we'll have some people back in house soon. So that way we can start working on things like that, and just even updating. Like we have these 3D floor plans, which are really cool. And so we're gonna, you know, create new ones based on like our new capacities and things like that, what we can do. We're not going to do tray pass food anymore. It'll be all food stations. So we're going to try and show that too. So it'll make it a little bit easier while we're walking through, you know, on Zoom, and we can share these 3D floor plans as well. So I think
that's all like great stuff to like to promote to like when you are ready to like, or when you are promoting to like event planners and stuff. Like I would be so interested in a venue that's just like, here's everything you would ever need to know virtually. And
yeah,
it just makes everybody's job so much, like, I'm gonna sound like a lazy planner, but I would like if somebody else did my job for me, so that
most planners do. Hey, Nicole, you mentioned food stations. How are you guys going to be manning those? Are you going to have like a server there serving it, or having the guests serve themselves?
Yeah, so we always have servers that serve the food. It helps with, you know, they can explain all the allergies, and that way people aren't, you know, touching the utensils and stuff. So we're still going to have that, but basically we're going to have dedicated staff with like clean gloves to hand out plates, and then another staff to hand out silverware. So guests can actually, like normally you could just walk up to the station, grab your silverware and your plate, and then the servers would, you know, put the food on it for you and serve you. But that's not going to happen anymore. So, and we have to obviously have a lot more, because you can't have people in line. You still have to be socially distant. So we're kind of playing around with that too. And then what hot appetizers will work on a station. That's tricky, because a lot of ours are, you know, they don't hold that long. They're really just meant to be like eaten right when they come out of the kitchen. So we're trying to be creative in that as well, and figure out how to still have like the reception without, you know, like a lot of our food stations are kind of heavy, more for dinner, and that's probably what they're looking for like a tray pass thing. So yeah, that's another challenge. We're still kind of working that one out too.
Yeah. Real quick, at La Colonial, we do a lot of food stations as well, along with past appetizers too. So obviously we can't do past appetizers anymore. So I was thinking of creating food stations and having a sneeze guard.
Yeah.
So that, right, and you can put the dish itself on the plate, and then the server can hand it to the guest.
Yes.
Is that something anybody has done? And any feedback on that?
We actually got those. So right before we closed down at Tao, my colleague had a venue buyout for like 5,000 people, and they were freaking out because, you know, all the reports of COVID started coming out. So that was one of their things. They wanted to change all of their appetizers to food stations. They wanted sneeze guards, which we did. And they, you know, we thought it'd kind of cheapen it a little bit, but it didn't. It just made people feel so safe. They loved it. Like we had such amazing feedback from that buyout. And this was like literally a week before we shut down, when COVID was, you know, nobody really knew too much about it. So that was good. And it was nice and smooth with the servers passing everything out. And then they have like, you know, we have a lot of staff that was going around and doing all the sanitation and wiping everything down. So it worked really well.
Perfect, thanks. Did you use your plates and silverware, or did you buy compostable, recyclable stuff?
We did switch to single use for that, and I believe we're going to continue that as well. Yeah. It's like bamboo plates, I want to say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Perfect, thanks.
Well, that's really interesting that you started doing that before the shutdown. Do you have a different opinion of it now? Like before might have seemed too much, but now it's.
Oh yeah. When we had all these requests coming in for that event, you know, we had no idea we were about to shut down. We even were talking, we're like, oh, the strip will never shut down. Our venues will never shut down. If they do, we better be scared. And, you know, sure enough, like a week later, all of that happened. But we were so shocked. We're like, our staff does such a great job. Anyhow, you know, if anybody even like sneezes into their elbow, they throw the whole tray away, you know, just like with any restaurant, I'm sure everybody does the same thing. So we thought, you're good. We're going to take great care of you. And of course they were not. They were so concerned, and we didn't want that big party to cancel. So we had to try and come up with quick things. We ended up getting those sanitizer stations, and we put them at all the entrances. And so it was kind of nice because that was like a trial run for us before we even knew we were going to have all these things in place. And now we're just trying to make it even better, you know.
To the point of the past appetizers, though, there was one really cool looking thing that our team came across. I wish I could find it to share it. But there was a really cool, like, preset kind of past appetizer tray instead of like having traditional past appetizers where people like go in and grab hand for like item by item. It was kind of like a preset thing. So like if I wish I could find it, but if I find it, I will share it because I'm rambling and I'm not making sense. But it was really cool and really innovative. And I think it could also be like maybe utilized somehow. I wish I could find it. Like prepackaged kind of even tacos or things like that that you were passing out. So like, I don't know. If I find it, I'll share it.
Okay.
I know we're doing like a biscuit bar this weekend for a group that I have, a small group of 16, but we're pre-wrapping all the biscuits in foil so that they can still have that bar experience where they just come up and grab it, but nothing, you know, is cross-contaminated, so to say.
Yeah, I feel like Azure, you found an article that was like about food trends, and it was a lot more of like the prepackaged, like individual servings will become pretty popular, like for groups and stuff post COVID.
Yeah, and I've seen things at events before, like the salad in a cup kind of thing that's more portable. I bet we'll be seeing more of that kind of thing where it's all, yeah, it's smaller, but it's in a container and no one else has touched it.
I went to my first networking event last week, shockingly, that one of our groups had it. It was also outside, and it was hot as balls. So I was there for about 30 minutes, said hello, and got the hell out. But they did the same thing where they did prepackaged meals for us in like lunch boxes, and it was the salad in the mason jar. It was chicken skewers wrapped up in foil. It was actually done by Tzatziki's. And then there was like a little dessert in a cup type thing, but that's how they had it too. It was all individually packaged. And so when you walked up to the table, you just grabbed your box and then went and sat down.
I'm a big fan of that at conferences, to just grab it and go somewhere else. And then the line is much faster to get through.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting though, because I know like for our party people events, like we get like food, like, and sometimes it's passed, but like now having to think about just giving everybody like an individual, maybe like a little bit of everything type of thing.
Little box of desserts.
Yeah, I would take that.
Second, please send it my way.
Anything chocolate.
The other thing I was thinking about that I think is going to be a challenge, obviously, our first event will be in 2 weeks, so I can tell you guys how that goes. I mean, it's only 30 people, but still. Bar service, right? So I don't know about you guys, but when we start an event, like we typically like to have maybe a specialty cocktail that people can just grab and come in, or beer and wine, something like that. And we're not allowed to do that anymore. So you have to actually like go up to the bar and order, and then you have to have your line 6 feet distant. I mean, our venues are pretty large, so we do groups up to like 3,000-4,000 people at one time. So I don't know how that's really going to work to manage that, you know what I mean? And make sure people aren't upset, because they're not going to be like, oh, these COVID restrictions sucks. It's, oh, Marquee sucks, you know, I couldn't get a drink. So
Nicole, we've had a couple of events at our one of our venues, and right now that particular venue is 50 or less. We're not allowed to have the bar open, so we're having cocktail service. So when everyone comes in, they go and they sit down. We have a server go around and say, here's what we're offering. And we've really been pushing the guests now, especially, to do a signature cocktail, pre-select a red and a white, pre-select a light beer and a dark beer, so that we could say, like, here are your options. If they want something else, they'll ask for it. But 9 times out of 10, they're like, yep, that sounds great. And we do it that way. And then what we are doing, because we have had a couple with buffets, is we've put X's 6 feet apart for the buffet, and we're asking the people to come up by table. And so we've been kind of, you know, it reminds me of the old school wedding DJ kind of thing, but it's, you know, what we're doing. But yeah, we're not doing any bar service for groups right now. It's all cocktail service.
Interesting.
You guys mentioned the spacing, like the 6 feet apart. Are you putting decals and things like that on the floor now for people to
painter's tape?
That's fancy.
Yeah. No, we don't have I've seen like a whole bunch of them where they have like their specialty logo, or they're like, stand here, and I'm like, yeah, we're using painter's tape. Well, because for us, like, we sometimes, especially that one venue, we change the setup. So where the buffet is this week, it might be different next week, depending on how the client wants it set up. So it's just so much easier to just pick it up and move it. I mean, also barbecue joint, so no one's really looking at us for set trends.
I think like the logoed stuff also, like, in my opinion, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's kind of like, I'm not really a gobo girl. I hate gobos. I always tell people, don't waste your money on a gobo, because they're going to step on it and no one's going to see your logo. So same thing with like the logo, like stickers, right? People are just going to be stepping all over it. I mean, it's, what are you getting out of that? You know what I mean? There's no return there. No one's taking a photo of it.
I did like one of our restaurants, our steakhouse, Deacon's, our GM got washable marker, and on the floor where the server's supposed to stand to keep distance, she's putting movie quotes. Like the other day, there was one in front of the table that says, nobody puts baby in the corner, you know, and those kind of fun things. And then at night when we mop the floor, it comes off because it's washable. So if you have the right floor, that's kind of fun.
That is cool. Okay, so I think we're coming up on our time. So if anybody has any other like last minute questions or things you want to ask the group, I think now would be a good time. No?
Okay, Rachel and I had a dumb question to ask that we talked about. No, since we're at the end. We were wondering if people are starting to come out and meet for like first dates. Are you seeing uncomfortable tables of two? Are they feeling comfortable enough to meet like a new person now? Just
oh my God, I am bright red.
Hey, I've been in my apartment for 3 months. I'm bored. I'm thinking about
I can't judge. One of my best friends is online dating, and she went and met a guy in the Publix parking lot the other day. So she's like, I don't feel comfortable going to a restaurant, but I want to see if we have chemistry. So we're going to meet at the Publix parking lot, and we're both bringing a beer.
That's amazing.
That is quite the story. Like, I hope they get together and it's happily ever after.
And they get married in the public spot.
All right. Well,
All right. So I guess our answer is no. No,
Yeah, not
no
yet.
awkward first dates yet. We're not in that stage of reopening.
Maybe you could be the first, Rachel, and report back to us.
I'll have to. I'll let you guys know how it goes. All right. Well, I think that's it for us. And thank you guys so much for joining and sharing. And we'll see you at the next one.
See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.